Hey, somebody's got to record the Andy Griffith Show. You did? Excellent. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. You're listening to the Professional Noticer. Here you and I will use common sense and all the wisdom we can muster to move beyond what is true and go all the way to the truth. With actual listeners in more than 100 countries, I am the Professional Noticer. Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Andrews. Hey, thank you for making me a part of your week. My purpose here today, and with every show we do, is to play the part of a best friend or a coach. I want to help you live the life of your wildest dreams by giving you access to the greatest mentors the world has to offer today. Our sponsor this week is our good friends at Tucker ATV, Highway 43 North in Jackson, Alabama. This is the small town business with a national reputation. Tucker ATV is not on the interstate. It's maybe you would consider it off the beaten path, and yet people are beating a path to Tucker ATV. They have all the Polaris vehicles, they have all the Hustler lawn equipment, the Echo power tools, but the place is a destination. And this is why people from state after state after state are coming in and doing business with Shannon and Lisa Tucker. I think the real draw, the place is a destination. I mean, you walk in and you're seeing antiques and taxidermy, and there's a porch inside with a porch swing and with television and books and coffee. It's just incredible. But the real draw is Shannon and Lisa. This is customer service like from, I don't know, the 50s? I don't know. These people are great. They pay attention. They're fun. They're people you want to be around. Go on Tucker ATV's Facebook page and read some of the stuff that Lisa writes. She's funny. And they're great friends of ours, great friends of the show. And you definitely want to get to know Shannon and Lisa Tucker at Tucker ATV, the small town business with a national reputation. Observations and answers, that's what we do here on the Professional Noticer. And it's awesome to have such a wide variety of guests that offer different perspectives in different areas of our lives. And I got to tell you, I got a guest today that I have known for several years now. Never expected to meet this guy. Never expected to meet anybody like this guy. But you guys know Kevin Perkins. Kevin and I have been best friends forever. And Kevin and I were up in Wisconsin. Now, you connect that with Michael Perry. You know, I already introduced you to the author, Michael Perry. But Kevin and I were up in Wisconsin. And we were on a hunting trip, and one of our friends up there, Greg Steinhaus, said, "Hey, let's have lunch. I got to take my son's deer to the taxidermist, and I'm coming by there, and so I'll pick you up after." And we said, "No, wait, pick us up before. We like going to taxidermists. We like seeing what they do." And so he said, "Okay." So we go, and as we're driving along, Greg says, "Yeah, the taxidermist we've always used, he retired, and so I've never met this guy, and I Googled best taxidermist in Wisconsin, and this guy came up, and so we're like, oh, okay, well, this should be good." And so now I got to tell you, from a person, an outdoor person like I am, like Kevin is, we've seen a lot of taxidermy. And when you see bad taxidermy, you know it immediately, okay? But most of it is good, and it's a lot of it's alike. It looks alike. It's just good. It's good. It's fine. Well, we walked in this place, and we were there about 10 seconds, and Kevin and I looked around and then looked at each other and were like, what is this? Because it was was so incredible that it was really noticeable. And then we kind of do a 360, and there's some trophies and some ribbons stuck over in the corner. And I go and look at some of them, and I tell Kevin, I said, come here, look at this. Look at this guy. Look what this guy is. And so, you know, we've had a lot of guests on here. And we've had people who are very high up in their field. But I've never been able to bring you somebody who was the best in the world at what they do. Okay, because this guy, I'll show him to you in just a second, but his name is Clint Rickey, and he owns Rickey Ridge Taxidermy up in Dodgeville, Wisconsin. And Clint Rickey has won. Now Wisconsin and Iowa are two huge whitetail states, okay? And so he has won the Masters Division, the state championship for taxidermy. He won the Masters Division in Wisconsin 6 years in a row. He's won the Iowa Masters Division 5 years in a row. He won the U.S. National Championship twice. And this past year, he won Best in the World. Please welcome our friend, Clint Rickey. Hey, buddy.
Hey, Andy. How are you?
I'm good, man. Thank you for taking the time to do this. I know this is starting to be a busy time of year for you.
Oh, boy. I'll tell you what, this is such an honor for me to be on your podcast, and something that honestly I never thought would ever happen, something this cool, this big for me. This is
right.
big for a small town country boy from Southwest Wisconsin.
Yeah, you've been some amazing places, man. Now, I mean, having done what you've done, you know, my Austin and Adam and I, and of course Kevin and Greg Steinhaus, we're like we're your 5 biggest fans, you know. And I remember sitting on the couch with Greg Steinhaus at his house like a year ago, and him saying, okay, just look at this stuff and look at, you can tell when Clint started doing this stuff. And so a couple of just background things I want to get, because I don't even know how to describe how weird it was when Kevin and Greg and I walked in your studio for the very first time. It was very clean. It was very orderly. And the mounts that you had ready, you had a full body mount of a whitetail deer jumping over a barbed wire fence. You had a full body black bear. And we were just shocked at what you had done. So how did this evolve? I hate to say, how did you get better than everybody else? But you are.
Well, that's a great question. I've been doing taxidermy for 18 years. I've only been good at taxidermy for probably 6. The first handful of years, I wasn't very good at it. But what happened was I started competing. And I learned in, I think, 2009 was when I first started going and attending taxidermy competitions. I was a taxidermist. I started in my mom and dad's garage. I was 19 when I started taxidermy full time. And in 2009, I was on the computer and I seen taxidermy competition. Now, I grew up and very competitive. I played football, I wrestled, I did a lot of competitive stuff. Right. I thought, how cool is it to be in an industry where there's competitions for adults, where we can kind of feed that competitive nature.
Sure.
And so I attended my first competition in 2009 at the Wisconsin Taxidermy Association. Now, a lot of people don't even know that there's taxidermy competitions, but every state or most states have taxidermy associations set up, and associations, organizations where they're all nonprofit and they hold competitions and seminars, and it's just
right. You came
places
to
where you
like
can learn.
you actually travel now to judge a lot of these
Yep,
statewide competitions.
I do. That's right, I do now. And what they do is most states have an annual competition, and they fly in judges from across the country and sometimes across the world. Notable people that have won things to judge the show and judge the pieces, and we can talk about that too, how they go about judging it. But I attended my first show in 2009. I was absolutely amazed at the quality of work and the quality of people in Wisconsin. It was amazing. It was like you were at a convention with all your peers. Taxidermy. I mean, taxidermy is such a small niche in this world, but heck, there's 300 people there that share the same passion, and we're talking about it. And I got really, really ate up with the competition aspect, probably more so than my business at that time. The competition was I was infatuated with it.
But that ended up making you what you are business-wise, because it lifted the level of quality of
that's
what
right. So the first few years of competition I did well. I got blue ribbons. Now, it's like a fair. There's multiple blue ribbons, multiple red, first and seconds. And about 6 or 7 years ago, I decided to really commit myself to trying to, as goofy as it sounds, to set a goal to be the best in the world, to win a world championship, because they also have they have state level, national level, and world level. But I was just competing at the Wisconsin show, and I'm like, heck, I'm going to be a world champion. And that's when I kind of committed myself to it. When I was young, I mean, I guess that was 6 to 8 years ago when I made this commitment. And basically all that commitment is immense studying and beating on my craft. And now I'm judging and giving seminars, and I always start out my seminars saying that I truly believe there is a difference between talent and skill. Talent, you're born with. God gives you talent. I consider myself I'm average. I honestly think my talent level is average to maybe slightly above, but where I thrive is my skill, and my skill is just beating on your craft and developed over time. And the reason I know this, and I think a lot of other young taxidermists when I do seminars really can relate to it, because I've mounted in 19 years 1,500 tailed deer heads. And I know the first 1,000 of them, and I might have a customer listening that got one of those first 1,000, but they weren't very good. And I judge a lot of people.
Wait.
Yeah.
Now, see, you say they weren't very good, but that's according to your standards, because we all see, hunters, we see all the time deer heads, and they're okay to us, but to you, they would be not very good. I'm just telling you, because I took a picture of when I was up there with you one time in your studio. I took a picture, very close up, of an eye of one of your deer, and I sent it to several of my hunting buddies, and I said, "Look at this! Look how close I got to this guy." And my friends were like, "How did you get that close to that buck? How did you get that close?" Then I blew your cover on it. But what you say is not very good is what we see most of the time.
Right.
I guess it's not very good to you. It's good to us, but there's a difference in.
Well, I think
there's a difference in, there's a book, Good to Great. And I think there are some people who have gone, good to great. You are one of the very few people that I know that has taken an industry and you went good to great and then great to best.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well,
And I know there's nothing
appreciate,
to say to that. You know.
no, I appreciate what you said, and I'm just thinking about it as we're talking, and about I am very overcritical of my work, and I think that's a hindrance and a benefit to me to be overly critical. But I think it's a lot like any artist or photographer. I
Right.
think photographers, and I'm looking at the photos in the background behind you, and I'm sure a lot of those, photographers probably can nitpick it apart, where me personally, I look at that at 4 feet away and think, oh my goodness, this is amazing,
Now, before
but
we go
mhm,
into, I want to talk about some of the things that you do differently, but
mhm,
I want to go back for a second. And uh, one of the things that is curious to you, and I find this in common with a lot of incredibly successful people, and that is, um, how do I put this? You, I, I don't have a college degree, and you don't have
mhm,
a college degree. What
mhm.
kind of grades did you make in high school? Do you mind me asking?
Do you want me to be honest with you?
Yeah,
Honest,
yeah.
honestly, in high school I got C's, many C's, some probably D pluses.
Okay.
If I got a B in school, that was a big. I paid attention. I paid attention really well.
Well, now see, here is something that's curious to me,
Uh-huh.
is I think because you have obviously you have followed a passion, because you got to be passionate to be able to, as you say, beat on your craft, to hammer on that, to study it. You got to be passionate about it. Okay. And so I really think that there are a lot of parents that can take some calm about, with this podcast, because parents get so upset and so bent out of shape about their kids' grades. And yet, if you look around, those straight A kids, those kids who are straight A's, it's almost like their pathway is chosen for them, or something, because it's almost like, the parents and the friends are going, well, not everybody can do this, and so you're going to have to be a nuclear physicist, or, you're going to have to be a brain surgeon. Not everybody can make all A's, and so those people are on a path that, who knows if that's really their passion or not. But people who make C's, like I did, like you did, people look at us and go, "Yeah, do whatever you want." Hey, I hope you find
Mm,
something. Yeah, and
mhm.
yet in
Which is
today's
great.
world,
That's great.
yeah, in today's world,
Yeah.
you can figure out a way to make money with your passion. And so
I
you
agree.
obviously, when did you kind of decide, hey, this is the pathway? Was
Mhm.
it 19?
Mm. That's a pretty great story, and I guess we have time. I'll try to make this long story short.
Yeah,
The
we
way I
do.
got into taxidermy is my mom. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I fell in love at a young age, and I actually married still my wife. I think I started dating my wife Sonia when I was 15 years old, and so from 15 on. Um, I didn't think about much except for her. That's what I thought about. That was my world as a young boy,
Right.
and and I didn't ever even think about what I wanted to do with my life. And one day, my mom went on the computer at work and found this website called taxidermy.net. Taxidermy.net has forums for sale, wanted items, different categories, and she's in the wanted section. She didn't even tell me this. I never even thought about taxidermy. She posted, I think my son would like this career. Is there anybody willing to teach him? So she came home that day and she says, hey, I posted on the computer that I think you'd be a good taxidermist. And so a guy responded, like, you did that? Come on, Mom. And this fella from 5 hours north of me responded, just a hobbyist in his basement named Brad Bishop. And the long story short, I drove up there on the weekends, one summer on the weekends, and he taught me everything he knew. And I loved doing it. And I came home and I worked one summer, the summer that I went up to Brad's place to learn taxidermy, I worked for Morton Buildings. Great company, make a great building. But I was not a builder, and I did not like it at all. And I went to taxidermy school, and I had mounted 3 deer in my life. That summer, I mounted 3 deer. And that fall, I came home and I shot a buck. I remember I shot a buck, and I went up to register it. And in Wisconsin, we all had to register our deer at one specific point because we have the CWD and whatnot. And I went up there, and there was a bunch of people with deer, and there was taxidermists up there soliciting work. And they had deer all over them. They took in so many deer. I'm like, son of a gun, dang it, I'm going to be a taxidermist. This was on a Saturday. On a Monday, I was 19 years old. I drove up to that registration station, backed up and parked next to the other taxidermist. And from then on, I was a full-time taxidermist. And I only had mounted 3 deer in my entire life. I was so young. And I think I had a truck payment, and I had a cell phone payment, and I had a truck insurance. When you're 19, and I had a speeding ticket, so it was a lot. But that's all the bills I had. So from then on, I was a full-time taxidermist, and it just stuck. And the thing is it's hard for me to remember back then, but it's something that the more you do it, the more, you can love it. And I think this will be my 18th or 19th season.
Right.
One of those. And it's so me that it's all I know right now. So, I mean.
Okay. So there was a period of time, and you're like one of the guys, you're just one of the taxidermists. You're one of the guys in the area. And all of a sudden you decide you want to take your game to a different level. Now, one of the things that I was curious about, as I got to know you, and actually Kevin and I, the very first day we walked around your workshop and your studio, we were taking pictures of things we had never seen before, like deer mounted with their mouths open, and this kind of stuff, and deer mounted like looking away, and it's all such natural poses. I remember seeing one that you had won a state championship with that had a stick in his mouth. And we were blown away. And then we began to understand this, and this is part of taking your game to a different level. Most taxidermists, if there are people, if there are hunters or fishermen, people watching this or listening to this that know anything at all about it, there are forms like styrofoam forms that the hide is stretched over, and generally, I would say the vast majority, 98%, 99% of taxidermists, they buy these forms from a taxidermy warehouse for a certain size or a certain looking this way or looking that way, and they use those forms. Now, when you got into the big time competition, and as you do your things, you're not using the forms. You have to hand make everything. And if that deer has his mouth open, you got to make the tongue, the teeth. So we were just like blown away. So explain how you do some of that.
Well, for competition, the higher levels of competition, when you go to the World Taxidermy Show, in the masters level, there's 2 categories. There's 3, but there's 2 main categories at the World Show and actually at all shows. There's what they call a professional division and what they call the masters division, and then that's kind of self-explanatory. Masters division is just the higher up That's where
Right.
you win the big stuff. The professional division is more to learn and for the critiques. The people competing at the Masters want to win. Um, when you're at the World Show and you do open mouth work, for instance, where and there's a couple deer behind me that do have their mouths open, you have to make it all yourself, which is a process of molding and casting of a real deer. You have to mold and cast stuff. But you don't have to, but you also can make the form, sculpt the form yourself. And if you do, it's not necessary, but if you do, you get extra credit points, or they say you get extra credit points, but it's something to set yourself apart from the rest. So it also, taxidermy competitions, when they judge a taxidermy competition, and when I'm judging and when I'm doing seminars, there is a score sheet, but there's not like, this is worth 1 point, this is worth 2. It's a subjective competition. Like, I compare it barbecue, or we have in Dodgeville, in my hometown, we have the National Grilled Cheese Championships here, and it's a big deal. But it's very subjective. You have to like it. So that sculpting your own gives you bonus points, whether it's on paper or in the judge's mind. And I learned when coming up in the last few years, when I really started winning, there's a lot of that you can that give you an edge over the competition that doesn't necessarily have to do with what some people think: eyes, ears, nose.
Right.
Presentation
So
has a lot to do
we're
with it.
competing in ways the competition doesn't know a
Yes.
game is going on.
And I don't know if I've told you this yet, Andy, but and you've taught me a lot, and you've taught me a lot without even trying to teach me, just because I've learned to listen. But I've stolen that line from you, so I apologize. I'm sorry, but not sorry. But
No, that's
when
good.
I'm teaching and I'm doing seminars, I use that line because there's a lot to it, and there's a lot of that correlates to business as well.
Sure.
First impression is huge. I wrote an article for the Texas Taxidermy Association, and it was on first impression, and that's one of the most important things in the world today, and it's developed so rapidly. Same with taxidermy. Your first impression of a good mount, bad mount it's amazing, but it's all with very subtle things. How high the mount is off the base, if it's eye level, eye rotation, and expression in his face expression, what he's doing, if it all kind of correlates, if it's soft, groomed. I love grooming mounts, which a lot of taxidermists don't pay attention to grooming. Grooming is basically combing the deer's hair in a manner that looks natural and is lofty.
Okay, so
And it's
explain that.
never done that well. When you mount a deer, and the hair is groomed slicked down against the form, the styrofoam form. It's slicked down and it looks hard. Like, and if some people do really good taxidermy, it still looks mounted and hard. But when I mount a deer, I try to, throughout the mounting process, I'm always lifting the hair up and fluffing the hair. Even your southern deer, if you really would pay attention to them, their hair is not against their body. It comes out of their body. It's a very simple thing. And it gives them life. It's amazing what combing the hair of a deer properly does to the mount. But there's numerous small little details that seem so much like common sense that is easy for us to forget about, that if you do well, it sets you so far apart from the competition. It's amazing, and that's what really kind of gets me going, is these subtleties that
Sure.
can set you apart.
Well, it's
Mm-hmm.
like the eye of that deer. I don't know what you do except that I
Mm-hmm.
have seen you keep a book. You've got this
Mhm.
book of the close-ups of every single thing on this deer. And I remember, I remember just going through your shop and looking at the eyes and going, everything looks alive. It is, so what is it that you're seeing about that eye?
Well, a lot of us taxidermists use the term reference. We use reference. Reference is looking at close-up photos of deer, whatever we're mounting. And I'm lucky enough that close by there's a deer park that I can go and take photos. But now today with Google has more photos than we could ever take ourselves.
Right.
And on my tablet, I simply just save these really close-up pictures of deer eyes, deer noses, nostrils, all these little things. And while I'm mounting, even now that I think that I know exactly what it looks like, I try to, every step of the way, compartmentalize. That is a word I use a lot with students. I break things down into very small sections because my mind can't grasp the whole process at once. Like, I'll be doing an eye, and that's all that's in my mind at that time is that one eye. And I have a TV in my shop that hooks to my iPad, and I put an eye up on the TV, and I'll look at it, and then I'll look at my deer, and I simply just try to make it look like that. But if you do that every step of the way, it's amazing the end result. I was told a story once about I was in a seminar, and this man was talking about how we think we know what we see. Like, can you name 5 things on a dollar bill? This really stuck with me. Can you name 5 things on a dollar bill? And we're like, heck, I mean, how many? We've held hopefully thousands of dollar bills in our life. Thousands of dollar bills. We should know what it looks like. So we're like, oh yeah, we can name 5 things. So there's the $1 bill, George Washington. Huh. I don't know what that looks like. There's so many things on it. So many things on it. So I get a dollar bill out, and I'm like, that really stuck with me. That, I mean, something we handle so much, but you don't know the detail of it.
Right.
And that really gets me going, is look into it. And the thing is customers, judges appreciate it. Customers don't necessarily appreciate the fine detail, but what they appreciate is when they step back, because most customers look at things at 4 feet. We taxidermists look at things at 2 inches. That's what we always do. We put our glasses on our nose and we look really close. Customers look at the whole thing at 4 feet. And all those little differences make a big difference at 4 feet, if that makes sense. If that makes any sense.
It does, because it's almost like as a customer, I wouldn't really know why that looks so much better. One of the things that Kevin and I have talked about several times is that first day when we met you, and we were looking so closely. Neither of us had ever seen a deer mounted with its mouth open, and so both of us are looking so closely at it, and at some point you came over and you told us about it, and you said, now look at this. He said, nobody would ever know this, but I know it. And you put a little flashlight in there, and then as we were looking at the nose, we realized we can see the sinus cavities light up on this deer, because you've got the light going in the mouth, and you see it kind of glowing through. It's just, the attention to detail was unreal. So just
yes,
I've got to say, you've gotten, you have become just a great friend to me, and my boys, they just are in awe of what you do, and so it was amazing one night. You don't want your friends to be disappointed. Yeah, you want to encourage your friends, but you don't want your friends to be disappointed. And so I remember you telling me that, because I told you, I said, Clint, business wise, dude, retire. I mean, from competition, because 6 times the state masters champion in Wisconsin, 5 times in Iowa, 2 national championships. I mean, dude, all you can do is lose now. Just retire. And you said, well, I've always wanted to win a world championship. And I remember thinking, oh man, golly, don't do that. Because you said it's going to be in America. It's like every 2 years, right?
Yeah.
And you said it's going to be in America this year. And, these people come from, Germany and South America and this, Russia and all over the world, the best of the world. And I'm like, oh, man, I don't know that you should do this. I mean, I didn't say that much to you about it. But I remember going and telling Kevin, I said, he spent a lot of time on this and on this one mount. And I was in Santa Barbara. Kevin was at home. I was in Santa Barbara the night of that, and so it came up, and you won one category with your bison. I forget what category that was, but with that monster bison you won, and
the bison, I won third in world with a bison, which is the large game head category. What that was.
Okay, third in the world with the bison. And so then it's like, so everything comes down to the deer head, because the deer head is like, bull riding in the rodeo. It's the last thing. It's like the 18th hole on the golf course. It's the World Series. This is the big one. All the little categories, they get bigger and bigger and bigger. Now they're announcing the deer head, and you've already won something with the large game head, and so Kevin and I are both aware that this is going on. It's coming on. And we got the text. I won. Kevin and I were back and forth going, won what? What you won? What? And so when you sent us that thing that said best in the world, we were just like stunned. I mean, very proud of you, happy for you, and just, a kid who's followed his passion. And now you've mentioned students. You're in huge demand for people to come in and work as an intern for you, or to take a seminar from you, and I think that's awesome that you're willing to even tell anybody what you do.
It actually, I enjoy teaching so much, and this is more of a recent find for me, how much I enjoy teaching, and I think a lot of it has to do with, I think I'm pretty good at it. I'm pretty good at it.
We think you're pretty good at it too.
Pretty good at the teaching aspect.
Okay.
More so because I feel like I can speak in layman's terms to students.
Right.
Mainly because that's all that I know. There's some that teach that know these big words of muscle groups and the big long words, and I don't know any of them. And I actually somewhat take pride in not knowing some of those big words. So recently, the last few years, I started doing workshops in my shop with incredible success, and it is so rewarding to see those people really grasp it, and start winning awards for themselves. And we also, in those workshops, talk a lot about taxidermy and how to do it well. We talk a lot about business and how to improve their business. And frankly, a lot about just life goals and in general. I'm a very goal oriented. I like seeing people setting goals and doing everything they can to achieve it. I want to say one thing about that winning the world title. the world show's every 2 years. Every other year it's in Europe, and every 2 years it's in the States. And well, in 2016 or 18, 16, 2 shows ago, I got second in the world. And after I got second in the world, I was so infatuated with winning this title that I would sit, and this is a true story, I would sit in my recliner and I would daydream and visualize this, winning this world title. So visualize it so much that I would get goosebumpy and nervous, like butterfly in my stomach many times. It's actually affected my life. I'd get goosebumps. And I told my wife, Sonia, I said, son of a gun, I think if I win, because I never really said if I said win, because that's how sometimes there's confident. I think confidence is a good thing. I think you have to believe you're achieve something. So I said, I'm gonna cry. I said, I think I'm gonna cry. And I was like prepped for like this big, I don't know how this is gonna feel, because it was such a big deal to me. And they announced Whitetail, and this guy paused for what sounded like 5 minutes and said my name. And I walked up and I grabbed that plaque and I sat down and I thought, not exactly this big buildup that I thought it was going to be. And I came home the next day and I had to mow my grass and yell at the dog, and the kids were fighting. And I'm like, there's absolutely nothing. Cliche to say, but the many years prior, and I try to, when I'm teaching these taxidermists that are climbing this ladder, you have to enjoy it, because they're taking these big leaps to get to this end goal. The end goal isn't necessarily what it's all about. It's the fun, so much fun getting to that point of that end goal. And it's a kind of a letdown, to be honest with you, but I think it's very important for people to know that they have to really enjoy what they're doing throughout the whole process.
Well, I think it's awesome that you're passing this stuff on, because hey, I know a lot of people in your position. They would say, I ain't telling anybody. I'm not telling anybody what I'm doing. And the fact that you are allowing people to learn from you is, hats off to you, man. That is great. Hey, show us, have you got one of those magazines around that the World Championship got on the cover?
I do. It's actually the only thing I brought or set with me is this. This is there's a publication called Breakthrough. Breakthrough is a magazine that many taxidermists get. There's how-to articles, but nobody buys it. Well, I shouldn't say that. Many people buy it for the pictures there, right, and the mounts in there. And to be 100% honest with you, in the small, tiny taxidermy circle, winning a world title is number one, but getting on the cover of this Breakthrough is like 1B. It's amazing, and it sounds funny to everybody else, but to get onto the cover of that, because the editors and I know them well, and they're great people, and they Larry and Kathy Bloomquist have done so much for the industry. I don't know the process of picking the mounts, but they have hundreds of them to pick from.
Sure.
And it's such a big deal. And it's kind of funny. It's a big deal to such a small community of people. So, but that's okay.
Well, buddy, thank you so much for your time today. And so how do people reach you? How do people get in touch with you?
Well, in this day and age, social media is the big thing. And that's, I have a website. My website is RickyRidgeTaxidermy.com. But Facebook is really where Facebook and Instagram is really where it's so easy to keep up to date. So I have a Facebook page, Ricky Ridge Taxidermy Studios. If you go to there, I post almost every day a picture of, you know, what I'm working on or what's coming into the shop. So that's the best place to get in touch with me is on Facebook. Or Instagram. It's just simply Clint Rickey on Instagram. And I appreciate everybody that heads over to there. And if it's something that you like, and help me out and share it a little bit. I think I pinned to the top of my page a really neat video me and a friend just produced together.
I love the video.
I love it too, and he did such an amazing job it's done well for me. It's been shared many times. I want the more people that see it, the better for me. Like I said, my goal in this, my business, and my goal is slightly changed, but my goal is to not necessarily do high volume production taxidermy. We all want to take in more work. I don't necessarily want to take in more work. I just want to do the right work, deer pedestals, and people. I want to work for price of taxidermy. It varies all across the country. Let's say it's $650 for a deer head. I'm $765. So for $100 more, I feel that you get so much more of a product. And then I like working for appreciators. I always say I like appreciators, people that appreciate what they're getting.
Well, let me just tell you, I'm just making an announcement right here. I mean, I'm sorry to all my hunting friends, but that price has got to go up. I mean, oh my gosh, because you're way more than $100 better. And so I was telling you, I mean, you did that pedestal mount for Kevin, and it's just like, you know, and that has been for a year in Tucker ATV. And they have people come from all over just to look at it, because nobody down here, nobody has seen anything like this. And I know I've got taxidermist friends that are going, "Hey, man, you're killing me here." But I'm just, I'm just telling you.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate you and Kevin both, and for allowing me to do that, and for allowing me to and trusting to ship it down there. I think that's another thing, and I know we have to get off here soon, but shipping taxidermy is not what you think. It's pretty easy. There's actually companies that specialize just in shipping taxidermy mounts, and they're affordable. It does cost money to ship a taxidermy mount, but they specialize in it, and they will. And I assume that they did for you. They bring it right into your place, and often set it up for you, and you can be sitting on the couch, and all of a sudden your mount shows up at your door. So it's very easy. So everybody across the country can use whose ever service they would like to use with these. And I think that's something that doesn't get talked about much. And,
right. You think you have to use your local guy, but shipping is an easy thing now. So, man, thank you so much. Please tell your sweet family we said hello, and I just appreciate it so much, Clint. You taking the time. I know, again, this is your, a busy time of year for you, and I know you're in Wisconsin, so it's liable to be like 12 below zero already there, but I appreciate
it's fairly cold, but I appreciate you, Andy. I appreciate our friendship, and it's a great honor to be on your show.
Thank you, buddy. We'll see you soon.
See you, Andy.
I'm Andy Andrews, the professional noticer, harnessing common sense and wisdom to plow through challenges all the way to answers for you. And I think that'll do it for this week. Get us out of here, Matthew. So, ladies and gentlemen, and to the boys and girls who aspire to become ladies and gentlemen, we've reached the end of another episode of The Professional Noticer. In a world where common sense has become a superpower, I'm harnessing the tiny bit of mental energy I have for you, seeking wisdom, making observations, and endeavoring to answer tough questions in a way that will empower your family and your business. I'm Andy Andrews. Until next week, smile while you talk. Don't breathe anybody else's air still, okay? But make sure you have a positive answer to the question, how's it going? And so, until next week, goodbye. This episode of The Professional Noticer was produced by Matt Limpert. The Noticer theme written and performed by Sugarcane Jane. Catcalls provided by Twinkle and Smoke of Beverly Hills. Additional financial consideration provided by TasteBuds.com. Are you a picky eater? Or maybe you have a child who exists on a diet of chicken tenders and grilled cheese sandwiches. There were once two close friends who grew up eating nothing but ramen noodles. When their blood pressure spiked at the age of 18, they were not only forced to vary their diet or die, the two friends started a business to help others do the same thing. TasteBuds.com was created to help people develop a taste for things they don't like. There is a basic recipe program to teach members how to prepare foods like broccoli, beets, and beef tongue. Advanced seminars are also available. You can enjoy 3 days of fine dining with the Taste Buds, developing your own taste for things like chicken livers, pickled pig's feet, tuna fish and English pea casserole, and perhaps the all-time group favorite, brains and eggs. That's TasteBuds.com. Isn't it time to develop a taste for food that makes you gag?